Thanks for your time. Let's start with the chiefs and politics. And political scientist Professor Ransford Jampo has described as worrying recent resurgence of chiefs endorsing politicians. Now, two recent comments by top traditional rulers have ignited the age-long reminder that chiefs should not be engaged in active politics. While the Ochehene Osajifo Amwetia Oforipeni over the weekend said parents whose children have benefited from the free SHS policy must vote wisely, Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II last week said Asanteman will remember the president's good works. Do these comments amount to participation in active politics? We'll hear the views of a political scientist shortly, but first, listen to this report.
Twaso ama efie na efie na okotena mu no a wo be so yie yes ama wo tena mu bio na wo hanne na wa ba se ochini na Ghana ni na wo je be bia ya to oba na wo bi eni ho na wo antie di se ne oba ko suku antie di se from a antie di se enda so wo ho na wo to oba e mo anto no ba yie
Asante nso kai wadwuma pa no enim sa asante be kai no wadwuma so me de pa ya na da biara mebo ama no me se ye nanan mo de ye se yenye mo yi bi yenka ho yenhye jesi ne bi yenye hwe nti ayireyira so ani chibuo de bebem so nti yireyira se de usike nanan mo nyina ye to aba nti agya ye nyina ye koduro ho a ye hwe adwuma pa so ne ye de ato so the one at the empire and Mabamano. And Miamia baby, I wire Juma Quadroniano. 1 man a month for non church many penhun a year. And in I come on the Bemia Huno, a Jumapa, why I do anymore.
One of the promises you made that we are so happy about is your promise to legalize Okada. You said you will make sure it is regularized. If anyone tells you that they are against the legalization of Okada, then we don't agree with them. The reason why we don't agree with them is because we have traveled a lot.
So let's go on to the phone lines and speak to Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a political scientist, and he says this development is worrying. Prof, what in your view amounts to active participation in partisan politics? First of all,
Aristotle said man is by nature a political animal, and so if you strip man off politics, he becomes like a beast. It is impossible for human beings not to do politics, and that underscores the ubiquity of politics. Politics is found everywhere. So we are naturally political animals, but when we say active partisan politics, essentially you are referring to certain behavior of man that identifies him openly with one political party, and then the person is seen to be wearing party paraphernalia, party t-shirts, party shoes, party, all the kinds of things associated with political party. The person is also seen at political party rallies, and then also the person is seen openly campaigning or making statements that inure to the benefit of one political party as against the other. When you do these things, we say you are engaged in active partisan politics. But every human being does politics to the extent that we vote. I mean, you would have to always exercise your franchise when there is an election. And so to the extent that you would always vote, you do politics. But for certain class or category of citizenry, if you want democracy to thrive, you say you have the right to vote, you have the you have the right to be enfranchised and to vote in an election, but you are not supposed to do active partisan politics. And that's what our 1992 Constitution says. If you read Max Weber, the German sociologist who gave his formulation on the ideal type of bureaucracy, he also said that the bureaucrats should also not do active partisan politics. That means that in every electoral contestation, they have the right to go and vote. But they must be to be aligned with any political party openly. In the same way, if we look at our 1992 Constitution and what it says about chiefs, it tells them that yes, chiefs, if they want to vote in an election, they can do so. But given a certain negative historical antecedent that tends to undermine the sanctity of the institution of chieftaincy, if we are thinking about restoring back the glory of chiefs to them, then they must stay out of partisan politics. And that means that they can vote, but they shouldn't be seen at party rallies. They should not make open statements that identifies them with one political party. They should not be seen wearing any party paraphernalia, and that's what our law says.
But I'm curious to know, how do their comments undermine the chieftaincy institution? You referenced that earlier.
If you make a comment that openly shows that you support one political party, it simply means that you indirectly you are opposed to the other party. It's an electoral contestation, and so you must be choosy in the comments that you make. There is a way to naturally. It will be a breach of customary protocols for presidential aspirants and power seekers to go to communities where they are chiefs and to say that they will not pay courtesy call on them. Yeah. So naturally, politicians who are looking for votes will pay courtesy call on these people. But when they pay such courtesy calls, you should be circumspect in the statements that you make so that you don't portray yourself as being in bed with one particular party or offering a kind of open support to that political party. If you do that, you engage in active partisan politics.
Be as it may, I mean, we always see them doing it. It's very clear in the Constitution. It's very specific. They must not participate in active partisan politics, and yet we see them doing it.
It is not clear. It is not all of them who are doing it. There are some people who have respected the constitutional.
We're talking about those who are actually engaged in it. We're talking about those who are engaged in it.
Well, I'm saying that not all of them are actively engaged in partisan politics. Some have respected the constitutional injunction and they have stayed out of partisan politics. As I speak to you now, I'm in my hometown. I showed a piece that I wrote to the chief, and I told them that this is what is going on. You have to stay away. And some of them are not happy, and some of them are against what is going on. So, my point being that they are not engaged in active partisan politics. They have.
Right. I was making the point. I was making the point that the Constitution is very clear on this. Chiefs are barred from participating in active partisan politics, and yet we see some of them engaging in it. A case in point is the Ochehene, who actually endorsed the president and saying, you need to give him 4 more years. So, and he's actually asking his subjects to actually go out and endorse the president as well, and by extension vote for him. So how do we deal with this issue once and for all? Do we consider scrapping the law that bans them from engaging in partisan politics?
Well, the greatest of respect to all the chiefs who are doing this. See, gone are the days when people who were not too educated were appointed chiefs. But now, chiefs are very distinguished and refined people in terms of quality. You see, they are highly educated and all that. So what we have to do is to remind them of the constitutional injunction. I mean, the point is this. When the institutions of states that are supposed to serve as countervailing agencies to ensuring that there is peace fail to do their role, we can always fall on the chief. And these chiefs now are highly lettered and very much educated. And so it's important. Once upon a time, a reverend minister was heard shouting, so there are people who know the historical antecedents that led to the constitutional injunction banning chiefs from doing active partisan politics. We expect all of them to speak up against some of these things because it's not the best, and it is disappointing to hear chiefs that are very eminent, chiefs who know what the law says, violating the law, openly. And so it's not only about the Portenier that you mentioned. I'm aware other chiefs are doing same. And I would appeal to them that should the political leaders call on them, they should be circumspect in the tone, in the language that they use, so that they don't betray themselves as being partisan. Because they are subject, the people that they preside and they lord over, they are NDC people and they are NPP people, they are CPP people, they are PNC people, they are all they are all manner of political party supporters. And so if you opt for one side of the divide, then it means you quote and unquote lose a certain kind of legitimacy in the sight of the remaining citizens who do not subscribe to the political party that you are openly campaigning for. And I think it is absolutely unacceptable. People in Ghana must begin to speak against some of these things. You see, when there is a threat of democratic relapse, when there is a threat of implosion, and institutions, some of these countervailing agencies and institutions of restraint and institutions that are supposed to ensure peace building have also been tagged. And so for some time now, some of these institutions are not enjoying the respect and the support from the ordinary citizens because they feel that, as for these people, you can't now trust them. The only institution that we can trust to have the clout to be able to resolve conflicts today emerge is the institution of chieftaincy. And you see, because chiefs are, that can't say they are of bad mind, okay, so they would have the heart, to bring all across the divide, together. If you look at how some chiefs have conducted themselves, if you go to them, you are MPP flag bearer, they will receive you. If you go to them, you are MPP flag bearer of MPP power seeker, they will receive you. And some have been very cautious in the utterances that they make. But unfortunately, some too have also, I would say, played to the gallery and said so many things that betrays them as being doing partisan politics. It's unacceptable. It must be condemned. And we as a nation, as a people, must not condone such utterances.
Many thanks for your time. We mustn't condone such utterances. It remains to be seen if other people will speak up against this. Thank you so much for your time. That's Professor Ransford Jampo. He's a political scientist giving his perspective on the matter there. Let's move to the Eastern region now because the police command there says it has identified about 70 polling stations as flashpoints in the regional in the December polls as the December polls approach. The police observed that the stakes were higher this year and overzealous supporters of former President Mahama, who was seeking re-election, could potentially clash with their main opponents. Beyond this, they also cite some locations of polling stations which are considered overseas as easy triggers for violence. Chief Superintendent Raymond Kofi Ezwa is the Eastern Regional Acting Operational Police Commander and also the New Drabing South Municipal Police Commander.
We are aware of the task ahead. We know that this election is going to be different. The difference is that we have a sitting president who wants to continue his term of office, and we have a former president who wants to come back. So the dynamics are not the same, and we are aware and we know the task that is ahead of us.
We are aware that there will be a lot of security challenges.
We are aware of that. And in Eastern region, we have peculiar situation because we have a lot of overseas areas. When you go to Donkokru and others, their architecture in terms of security is different. So that when the election is today, we have to go there a day or two before, so that security men can be there and send the men to various areas. There are some who are overseas, so they have to sit in a boat and the rest to go there. We are aware of all those dynamics. So we've prepared, I mean, with both tactical, operational wise, and the legal aspect. So we are aware of the legal aspect that we are supposed to do. The operational wise, we have operational units in the region. We have the RDF, we have SWAT, we have the counter-terrorism unit for the region. And so, and the men have also been trained. So there are a lot that were at stake that we are aware of.
But within the region, have you been able to identify the flashpoint within the region? Now, do we know?
Yes, we know the flashpoint within the region.
You know about how many flashpoints are you?
No, I cannot pinpoint because it keeps changing. Some of those places that we used to say flashpoint, we were using the recent elections for the various parliamentary candidates and others to see whether there will still be flashpoints. Some were not, and new ones have come. So as we begin to dilate and go through it, we'll be able to, by the time we get to the election area, we'll be able to now know the exact locations that we are. But we are talking about something between 60 and 70 within the region. And we are saying it's not conclusive. But these are what has happened in the last election. There have been other elections that... 60 and 70, are they electoral areas or... polling stations? Or polling stations? Yeah, polling stations.
So let's stay in New Jaba in South constituency, because that's where we're bringing you Voters' Voice today. And there, the track records of both John Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo will be the deciding factor when they cast their ballots on December 7.
When I look at the track record of NDC when they come to power, anytime they will be like the infrastructure. I want to know that infrastructure, has it affected a lot of Ghanaians or just those in that area? But the MPP, whatever they do, and it's always the impossible, they'll be like, I'll do this, then the opposition will be like, no, you can't do this, it's not possible. And they come and they do that, what they said is not possible, they do it. And it affects a lot of people. Whether you like it or not, it will affect an MPP man, it will affect NDC people, almost the whole Ghana. So let's start with free SHS, that's the current one. It's affecting a lot. So even if you don't get infrastructure in your area, your ward will be going to that SS thing for free. But when we look at NDC, to be like, oh, I have a building here, I have maybe a hospital there, it's affecting just the people in that area. Ghanaians should see or start thinking about the president to do something that affects every part of Ghana. So if it's infrastructure, if it is school, it's happening in every region. You don't do that and say, oh, I've built a school or hospital here, so we should vote for you. There's something like an education policy that affects anybody. It's good we have to have these infrastructures. If they are not there, it's bad. We cannot function without them. But the president shouldn't let it be his achievement. I've built that, I've done that. So what should the MP say? What should the minister say? What should the DCE or MCE say? What's their achievements? But when you bring policies that is going to affect everybody in this country, then yeah, we should give you another term. So that's why I'm going to vote for the MPP for the day.
She school so Mahama ba ya osisi gu wo nyina. Man to aso ma je gu yam. Ena ma yan kwa double track. Asese ba nsa me gina we me ba o senior high school. Ah ye be school e ba ko o ye home econs. Secondary school so bi wa mo de ne ma agoguma ba nti wo for say we free. Ba me gina de ba betua be say 12 million. Say me de toto akwara no ho ne ma asa no ko school nti fan say me de menya atoto na ohia ni bi a ono tie kura. Ohia ni bi o tie kura o say de ordinary baba senior free. Free. Okonya 12 million wo he na o de akwa toto sa akwara no ho ne ma ama ne de akwa school so ade ne free. Home econs so you free. So ba no what to say ne ma nyina nti say wo si free dia ne ba bia say free. Let's talk about first private schools. I'm don't can call them in home. I'm also can home. It is a mama so banner so be ade ni free am obi an wato that. I tell you that is the best person that I like to vote for. That's the best person I like to vote for. I just see Bejina can say one this is one constituency, one this is one selo. Jabe ha say I fan yes selo back. He fan ya my 1 million say fire construction. And then when you first like Koko for Kumasi station here na bisa ho say MPP buy dan be no mesi Okofodia. They are talking say hey strong. As maybe I am strong o ya de ma o man no. Na what time my party be a no aba wo nya stronghold no develop. How? And let's say I tell you and then you no develop mo ha nya stronghold no I say me to aba ma no ba no beto ade o ye no so.
Just encouraged with the work of the president. I mean Nana Akufo-Addo. So I wish he continues what he's doing, and we also look forward for more work and improvements in his what he's doing. So I'm looking forward for more social amenities, and we wish he do more things to improve the country.
On issues of governance in relation to corruption,
In fact, in terms of corruption, the performance is very abysmal. And I think Transparency International, which is a world-accepted agency in measuring corruption standards, have clearly put out, in terms of their records, it has clearly depicted that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has performed poorly. In fact, his highest score has been 41 as compared to his predecessor, John Dramani Mahama, who had 43. So I think in terms of corruption, it's very abysmal. Recently, we've all heard the U.S. ambassador who criticized the government vehemently on his ability to fight corruption, as well as the Danish ambassador has also criticized the government fiercely on corruption. Again, on issues of security, we know how this government has handled issues of security. Very poor. How the military has been used to brutalize his opponents, and in fact how the military, and for that matter the security services, has been used in this era is very, very poor. I think that is not the way to go. As the commander-in-chief and Nana Addo, who touted as a doyen of democracy, we thought he could have offered something better. But looking at how our security situation has been handled, is very poor.
Gold we so eba ya say ma wo bia ntu gold no. On the crop foko to gold. De bia radi ye adwuma a yen omo ha no omo nje bi enye anansia eba ya say omo ba na omo aba beto aba na afodi omo so omo koyi ona omo so say omo nyimi yo no ma san to am because omo ko to a omo tum ono na say osan ka chom so mo tenafia na mo ye ne den enti omo de nya ade a meti o so obisa me say me wo 5 million crowd bank me ni bi ababa ye mi sika nyina se me ni me nyina sa first net sa na me ko kwan so de bia ene obaba ababa me ni me nyina ye basa.
Let's stay on issues influencing the elections, and it appears employment remains top of issues that will influence some youth in the country as they look forward to voting in the upcoming general elections. The two major parties have been wooing voters with a plethora of promises. The NDC, among others, is promising to legalize the Okada business, which is a source of income for many young people, whilst the MPP has pledged to support young entrepreneurs, among others. But with almost 2 months to the elections, which issues will influence the young people to vote? That's the question we posed to some youth of the Accra Diocese of the Methodist Church, which has just launched an anti-vigilantism campaign. Here's what they had to say.
Okay, basically, I think it's unemployment and mismanagement of, should I say, the resources of the state, because everyone after school expects to get a job.
I agree with what my brother said. It has to do with unemployment. After going through the struggles of school, burning the midnight candle, you come out and then you don't have anything to do. As youth, we are burdened with a lot of responsibilities. And so when you come out like this, everybody wants something to do. So as he said, whether legal or illegal, all you want to do is that at the end of the day, you should get money.
We have a country where politicians have the tendency of just paying lip service to issues and trying to stimulate our emotions and based on nothing else. So I'll look at those and those who genuinely have a thought of this nation and the youth as a whole to vote, if indeed I will be voting. I think top on the list of issues bothering this country, especially the youth, the teeming youth, is unemployment. As a HR practitioner, it's amazing what is going on. Now we have moved from the trajectory of just going to school and now gotten to the point of getting jobs. Degrees are abound now. In the past, it wasn't, you could count a few people having degrees. Right now, masters, if I share with you the database of my employees, you will see the number of people who have master's degrees. The applications that come every day, there are so many. And whenever we get financial clearance to recruit, it will be only for a few people.
For some time now, Ghana has focused on tertiary, that is the office white collar job thing, but it's about time we look at the technical aspect critically.
We should have a state policy that can rule manifestos or probably things that they want to do when they come to power. most people will have so many things in our manifesto. That is the political parties. They have so many things in our manifesto. But at the end of the day, when they come, one will start, one wouldn't finish, and the other person wouldn't continue. As we are seeing, we are in Ghana. We've seen so many projects that are still hanging. We've seen projects that has been completed and other stuff. We should think about all these things as youth. Reading and seeing all these manifestos, we have to think through, okay, so this one will help me, this party will help me, or this party wouldn't help me if come to power. So
just gone past, you heard some voices of some young people on what will influence their decision. And as you heard, their employment ranks top of the list. You're still watching Election Brief here with me, Araba Kumsi. We're taking a short break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to Election Brief on your election headquarters. Now, a group calling itself Progressive Achim Citizens in the Eastern region is urging flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama, to disregard threats to ban him and his party from campaigning on Achim lands. You would recall a few weeks ago, another group calling itself Concerned Citizens of Achiman hit the streets demanding an apology from the NDC leader after he shared a post by Bolgatanga MP Isaac Adongo referencing President Akufo-Addo and his family members in government as Achim Sakawa boys. The Bolgatanga Central MP, in the post relating to the controversial Ejapa royalties deal, accused the president and his cliques of setting up a cartel to capture the mineral resources of the state through the deal. Now, addressing a news conference in Achim Asaman Kesie, convener of the Progressive Achim Citizens, Ben Koranche, urged the NDC leader to defy the threat.
Before the 2020 general elections, as the level of development in Achim will reflect in our votes. Ladies and gentlemen, we most importantly want to use this opportunity to condemn some of our compatriots who recently engaged in cheap tribal politics and bashed non-Achim people to Asamankese to masquerade as Achim indigents and demonstrated against the flag bearer of the opposition party, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, over a statement made by the Bolgatanga Central MP, Honorable Isaac Adongo, on Facebook. As if that was not enough, ladies and gentlemen, these actors have no traces in Achim land. These actors who have no traces in Achim land went ahead to threaten Mr. Mahama not to campaign in any part of the Achim land. We find this as unnecessary, very unfortunate, and reckless. We want to state unequivocally that we, the Progressive Achim Citizens, will welcome Mr. Mahama any day, any time, and anywhere in any part of the three Achim states. And any time Mr. Mahama and the NDC want to come here, we, the Progressive Achim Citizens, will be there in our massive numbers to give him a rousing support. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, let me state here that under the Mahama administration, Achims also had their fair share of the national cake. And as we speak currently, the new manifesto that was presented some months ago by the NDC, we the Achim people are motivated by the big push for infrastructure, free TVET, apprenticeship, revamping of the mining sector, agriculture and cocoa production. We pray that Mr. Mahama wins the next election so that we can get our fair share of these policies and programs. We thank you all for your kind attention.
Let's stay on the NDC because the running mate to Mr. Mahama, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, has begun a 5-day campaign tour of the Eastern region. The campaign, according to a statement issued by the communication team, is to re-energize the NDC's quest to capture power come December 2020. Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman will begin the regional campaign tour from Iswojaman district to Lower and Upper Manya Yilokrobo and Okre on the first day of a 5-day tour where she's expected to meet chiefs and traditional leaders and supporters of the NDC. Now, Professor Opoku-Agyeman made her first stop at the Akwemu traditional area where the paramount chief and the paramount queen mother, Nana Afrakuma II, affirmed her support for the NDC's running mate. According to her, the decision by Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman to accept the choice to be a running mate is a great boost to the liberation of women in politics.
Yadana sigana menina danase. Nibiasi afane nyina. Tisa yati wei enkonwa da ye fie kura no. Bo ha na du so wade mawo. Osi da bi minti menye. Nye nipa nyina na benya kukuduru. A wode bibi be kire nanim. No beji atum. Yadana se, eni yadana se. Ni nyina danase. Senya ni di bia du. Professor, they are going to school review. They are professor. They are not just saying, Obia, what kind? Now, so why shedding in the edge? And what they are dear with children and me. You say, I can't afford it. Ye casa, ye. And so, Tony in our training, Ejitum, Mada was it. Yamawakwaba. Now. Mama no madua na fo nsamanfo na waduru hei ye beta wachi e ma beta wachi ye de honhompa ye de yemba yi ene ye bibiara beta wachi na wo de ahye Ghana man ya ni onyam de bi aka wi ase afa na nyina se ye nti bi da ye hu bi da ye nyoba vice president na se ufi vice dia na akọ chairman na akọ president enti Namoso, Yana Dachi, Nagana Babi, and Swabe President, Ghana member.
Professor Opoku-Agyeman also indicated her readiness to assist former President John Mahama to deliver on his promise to develop the country, arguing that politics is about improving the lives and the lot of the people.
Sana me baya me besra wade. Ade me ba besra wo ene wo nsam nhira. Besrawo afutu kasachire na anamona abeda menim no menega na manyina na etu nanso ne titru nana sade yenyina yenim no mene ma no na etu enti sesa na tie de na se me ba wanim beda me ho ekirew na metie onum na nya we ne de edikan anaso se de edi ekire ameba enya me pa ye kọ yenim no wo mu anamaba bibi ni anamaba na bebisa akwanchire na wonso so me mu kakra woni asumja woni hwe kakra be di unsem kra wanya na efi unsem ko enti na mesra ma ye nyina de tie bia politics de ayade ba kope ene o man no kanko ene ne mpuntu djuma.
Now, a popular MPP activist known for his designs, which are anti-NDC and their coughing campaigns in 2016, has declared his support for flag bearer of the NDC, John Mahama. Intim Joseph, popularly known as Olu MPP, says he now prefers to be called Olu NDC. News of his defection have been running on social media for days now, but this afternoon, he officially changed his warlike MPP camouflage to NDC colors and addressed the media in Kumasi. He says the MPP has disappointed him and his followers, leaving them jobless, the reason for his defection. Love FM's Erastus Saridonko has more.
Intim Joseph, popularly called Olu NPP, shot to recognition in 2016 with his Rambo-style NPP color dressing strapped with toy machine guns and arms designed in NPP colors. Social media will remember him by his creation of a coffin draped in National Democratic Congress paraphernalia, which he dragged behind him to mock the NDC during the 2016 campaign season. Now he wears a full NDC regalia in his Rambo-style elements and prefers to be called Olu NDC. He tells Love News his defection stems from unfulfilled promises of employment creation and others made by President Akufo-Addo.
Sabi so to na wo kuta nkwala hwe nkwala na wo ni adwuma ye edin. Ye nuanu mu bia dane akronfo. E na wo fa ne atwete kansi so. Ye de anim kro no bo. Adwuma nti se de nanado be ka kire se obemma ye adwuma ye nti ne to abama no. De nti amasama adwene se His Excellency John Dramani Mahama say obaba bebie factories am ye adwuma ye. Ama subin mimiti subin menya adwuma ye menko ba bia. Se nanado disappointing nti ne ye pam no nti ye me support. The
NDC says it is happy that Olu NDC has seen the light. Isham Al-Hassan is regional organizer.
We are now seeing you people from darkness to light. Being the regional organizer of the NDC, we are welcoming you people to come and join National Democratic Party in Ashanti region to sack MPP and its elephants to the bush.
Meanwhile, the NPP sees his defection as his right. But Regional Secretary of the NPP, Sampine, tells Love News he would reach out to him to find out the real reasons for his defection. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
And defections are really just synonymous with elections. But let's turn our attention to Akwetia now, because the NPP Member of Parliament for that constituency, popularly known as Amase, was conspicuously missing in the constituency during President Akufo-Addo's campaign tour of the constituency over the weekend. Amase defeated the NDC lawyer Baba Jamal in the 2016 general elections and became the people's representative of Akwetia. Her victory over Baba Jamal and subsequent entry into parliament stoked debate in Ghana, and people made a mockery of Baba Jamal that he lost the election to a hairdresser. Well, Maxwell Kudiko has more.
Amase is loved by a majority of her constituents, but lost the MPP parliamentary primaries narrowly to one Ernest Kumi. She felt shortchanged at the parliamentary primary and have received calls from her numerous supporters urging her to contest as independent parliamentary candidate in the 2020 general election. She has passed comment to suggest that she would contest as an independent parliamentary candidate for the Akwetia constituency. New Patriotic Party apparatchiks have initiated moves to talk to her to rescind her decision. However, Amase was not seen during President Akufo-Addo's campaign tour of the Akwetia constituency. Her absence left many thinking that rumors of her independent candidature is true. Meanwhile, addressing the chiefs and people of Akwetia as part of his campaign tour to the eastern region, President Akufo-Addo debunked claims that Amase will contest as independent candidate. Nanado expressed his worry over the absence of Amase at the Deba, but insisted that he doubts if Amase would contest as independent candidate.
Independent, I can mate. It's me Jimbi. Sama say Obeko independent. It's all MPP ni mapa. MPP no edama kumaso. Every year cross on the so anyway. I mean important say. What me yes sir. This is say one who Sajebina form of the Nano Baswa. This is a Kahubi.
Nana Addo assured the people of Akwetia that they will continue to benefit from government development projects. Responding to the nature of most of the Akwetia roads, Akufo-Addo praised Minister of Roads and Highways, Mr. Amoakwata, for his sterling performance in the road sector. He said the MPP's development project doesn't exist in green books, but it is very rare.
I may have some more. I said, your mommy says, let me pay.
Maxwell Kudako report for JoyNews.
Still here on Election Brief with me, Araba Kumson. Let's turn our attention on the United Progressive Party, yes, the UPP. It's calling for a review of the constitution to limit the powers of the president if the country anticipates any meaningful development. Presidential candidate Akwesi Adai Odike says the constitution gives too much power to the executive. This, he says, is part of the major problems inhibiting the development of the country. He was speaking at the National Delegates Congress and manifesto launch of the UPP. Nanaya Ojima has more.
Under former President John Atta Mills, a body was constituted to review the country's constitution. Even though the work was fully done, recommendations are yet to be implemented by successive governments. Mr. Adai believes a constitution that gives power to the people will ensure accountability that will accelerate development.
We don't have a system now. Everything is in a mess. The constitution has given so much power to the president that the president can do whatever he wants to do and get away with it. It has collapsed our institutions. It has put fear in Ghanaians to demand what is DS. Checks and balances is no more there. The executive arm of the government goes to parliament and pick 50% of the ministers. Do you know what it means? Nobody can impeach any sitting president because the 50% are jobs, they have created jobs for them. So they can't impeach their master. The president appoints virtually every head of institution. So everything in this country is in the pocket of the president.
The UPP is promising a total overhaul of Ghana's educational system to ensure second cycle institutions specialize in fields relevant for development. Mr. Adai says workshops and laboratories will be built across the country to practicalize education.
From primary to JSS and to the SHS, we are going to create what we call specialty schools. If Prempeh College is only for science related, that's what they are going to do, so that we can be able to resource their science laboratory. Then if Opokwari is for arts subjects, the students will be enrolled through that. So we are going to create specialty schools. We are not going to mix them like as it is now, no. And then the universities too. You know, the mandate of Kwame Nkrumah University was science and technology. Since they lost that mandate, they are not, you know, inventing things that used to be. So we are going to, in a sense, what we want to bring home is to bring technology into our educational curriculum. National policy agenda backed by law. What it means is that every political party cannot draw their own manifesto. We have a national policy. Every political party will pick their manifesto from the national policy. We can't allow few people to decide how this country should run. No, we are going to constitute a think tank body that will think for the nation and formulate policies that every political party must adhere to.
From Kumasi for JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
And here in Accra, I'm Araba Kumson. All too soon, we've come to the end of the program. Remember, you can join us. We want to hear from you. So drop your comments, drop your contributions, anything you have to say about the program or the issues that we raise in the program on our Facebook page. Stay tuned for the rest of our programs.